We are set to be joined by Ryan Leaf here on Radio Row. He will join us in the Raising Cane's guest chair. Game days are better together. Game days are better with Cane's. Raising Cane's chicken fingers. One love. Ryan Leaf, how are you, sir?
Hey, what's going on? How's the New England people out there? Everybody doing good?
We're doing all right. Yeah, I mean, trying to find some linemen and receivers, if you know any. We got a quarterback.
I was just at the Senior Bowl, so I was there all week. Perfect. So there you go. There you go.
Who stood out for you?
There's some good defensive linemen. This is going to be a really
weird draft.
Yeah, it's going to be a weird draft. I do not think that there's a quarterback with a first-round grade in this year's class, which isn't a big.
That's not crazy. Shador's had a second day 2 grade on him for a while.
It's not a thing that everybody thinks of. It's rare that you have 32 first-round graded players. It's really rare, but there's 32 teams that are drafting each year, and you're going to have to draft somebody in the first round or get out of the first round.
Right.
So you're going to be reaching for some players, and I do think that the quarterback position this year is definitely a reach.
When the draft is thin at the top, and it's a type of year where you're saying that's not quarterback heavy, those guys don't exist in that top 5, do you like what a lot of teams like to do, which is move back, get out, because the pick isn't as valuable this year as it would be a year ago? Or do you do the opposite, which is this draft is thin, I've got to make sure I have the best possible pick to get a good player? Do you move up? Which way would you go?
Well, it depends on what you need. That's a big part of it. You're always in need of the guy that rushes the passer, the guy that protects the passer, and the guy that passes it, right? Those are the 3 things. Receivers are starting to become more and more influential in that game as well, too. So that's where I would be looking. And I do think this draft is pretty heavily loaded with some guys that can rush the passer, some real long, mobile guys that have good bend to them, that can get to the quarterback. And, that's what you want. That's what you need to make a difference in this league.
Other than Abdul Carter, who's probably going to be a top 4 pick, we sit there at 4. If he falls to you 4, do you jump all over him? If it's him or Travis Hunter there, which one would you take?
Well,
if you're New England and knowing what we need.
Well, it's Mike Vrabel, and he's probably going to want to look defensive, I think, in my mind. Though I feel like Drake Maye just needs a receiver that they can have almost as a branding thing. Like it's Maye and Hunter, that go together. I am a little. I'll be really interested when I dive into it more about what Travis Hunter is going to play. Is he going to play DB? Is he going to play wide receiver? Right. What is it going to be? He was the Heisman Trophy winner. He was the Blitnikoff Award. He was up for the Blitnikoff Award, I believe. And so that's the biggest thing. Is he great at one of them, or is he pretty darn good at both of them, in which that makes you average at the NFL level?
What did you think of Drake Maye this year and how he stacks up with other young quarterbacks in the NFL?
I think he endeared himself to everybody in New England, just with his toughness, the way he played, how he could see down the field. Made rookie mistakes. He's young. He's incredibly young. But when I was at North Carolina this year, speaking and talking with coaches before he was drafted, that's the biggest thing that they all said to me was that he was a killer. And I would think that every college where a kid's coming out of, you talk to their coaches and everybody, they're going to go, he's a killer.
Right.
And I said, well, let's see if he's a killer when he goes 3-14 and everybody's like, you're not Tom Brady. Well, ain't nobody Tom Brady either. So let's pull back the reins on that a little bit. I think what they found out is that he is the quarterback that can lead them to the next decade as a franchise quarterback, and I think that's the one answer that needed to be answered.
So Drake Maye lost a lot of games this year, and Caleb Williams lost a lot of games this year. The guy in the middle, of course, obviously had a great year, but the view of Caleb Williams and the view of Drake Maye seem pretty different. A lot of people are down on Caleb Williams, saying this isn't going to work. And a lot of people are saying, hey, Drake Maye, he's really good and the foundation is there. How does Caleb Williams bounce back in your mind? And does situation and coaching and environment have a huge impact on whether or not his career works out or not?
Yeah, Ben Johnson's going to be a big answer to that. I do think this. If you can find a head coach who is an offensive play caller, and he's really good at it, and there in turn makes your quarterback really good at it, you can find consistency over a long period of time where you're not losing this offensive play caller. You have Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. They found the right fit there. Those two can go on forever, never worrying about whether an offensive coordinator moves on or leaves. And I think that's what every team's trying to look for. You look at what Tampa's done with a defensive-minded head coach, and both of their great offensive play callers who have transformed Baker Mayfield have both left now. That's always a risk you take when you hire a defensive-minded head coach, which New England did in Mike Vrabel. I think it's a good fit. It's a Patriot way. But for Caleb Williams, this is your third offensive system within the year. I know exactly what that's like. I got my head coach was fired in week 5. New head coach in year 2. You want consistency. You do. And for whatever it's worth, and it's going to be a new offense for Drake Maye, there is some consistency when it's Josh McDaniels. All right, there's consistency with him being a New England Patriot. For whatever that's worth, that has to feel like something completely different than what Caleb was doing. I will say one more thing about that. He didn't throw any interceptions in that whole losing streak almost until like the second to last game. For me, it just showed that he wasn't willing to take a lot of risk. What Drake Maye showed is that he's willing to take risks to learn to get better. And I think that is what distances himself away from Caleb Williams right now and then understanding.
Yeah, and calling the games. Like, I get very upset off bad picks. Like, if you can't see the field, you're not seeing things right. Like, tip balls, a ball that's a little behind. Like, I didn't come away from games feeling he was so careless and reckless with the football. Like,
yeah.
I thought he had to push it at times. Like, we don't have a lot of guys that can create space. And the tight ends are good. Hunter Henry was good. Austin Hooper was good. For a young guy, is it better to have sort of that dependable guy like that rock-solid tight end? Or do you think, I need a money guy on the outside?
Well, those
money guys are hard to find.
Yeah, they're incredibly hard to find. I really do think that, if the Super Bowl doesn't go Philly's way and A.J. Brown isn't necessarily utilized, I wouldn't be too surprised if people start just kind of whispering a little bit about, let's reunite Mike Vrabel and A.J. Brown together. He didn't want to leave Tennessee. He didn't want to leave Coach Vrabel.
We like A.J. Brown, Beetle. We'll take A.J. Brown.
And so that would give you wide receiver 1, and then you would have those tight ends that you need to be a security blanket for what you needed. But they do. They need a wide receiver 1, and they just, for whatever reason, have never had it since Randy Moss, and that was kind of out of nowhere. That trade was not one that people thought you're getting prime Randy Moss coming from Oakland. So, yeah, it's fitting. I think that's first and foremost, that responsibility to find a wide receiver 1 for Drake Maye. How they go about it, whether it's in the draft or free agency, that's a big question.
Did you study Jalen Polk when he was at Washington?
I did.
What the hell is going on there?
I don't.
We saw him at camp. He looked okay. Like, he looked good in camp. Like, he's going to be your number 1, even though he's not a number 1. He ran okay routes, but he caught the ball all camp. He just vanished.
I talked to him before the game I called when I was out there in Foxborough against the Chargers, and you were
there for that awful Saturday.
Yeah, I studied up on that game, and I was looking at the receivers, and I was just like, where's the guy that's going to step up? And I remembered how good Jalen, that group at Washington,
good group
with McMillan and Odunze and Polk were just, they're a big reason why Michael Penix Jr. was so darn good. So, and listen, I think you give him some time. He's got all the intangibles that can make him a great wide receiver, and watch what Josh can do with him. I think that's a big deal.
I think that too with Josh, trying to revitalize him.
I know you were not happy with one particular reporter's review of what was going on in the AFC title game with Buffalo and Kansas City. But why can't Buffalo get over the hump? Why are they not in this game?
Well, they were in this game. They were very much in that game. They just went up against the
head coach.
There could be that, there could be that. But I would say this: you just lost to the team that's been there, 5 times in 6 years. You're this close. But what at some point is the insanity plea come into, right? Where you're like, hey, you're doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result.
You're slamming your head into the wall, right? Like, you may not break through that way.
Listen, James Cook was special in that game. 13 carries. Why isn't he carrying the ball on 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1?
The 2 games I called against him, he's in real person. He's my favorite back in the AFC.
He's unbelievable, and they underutilize him. So I would lay this at the feet of Joe Brady and some of the decision makers. I'll tell you this though, right now, what they can't handle is the stress. They can't handle the pressure.
Yep.
They choke. The coaching staff does in those moments. It showed from
Josh wasn't good early.
He wasn't good early. Took some chances early. Probably shouldn't have. He settled down and became one of the better players in that game. He deserved to win the football game, but he didn't once again. And there's a reason why. You have the best coach and the best quarterback at game management in the NFL right now when it's a league of one-possession games. There's 17 consecutive one-possession games where they win the football games. And I wasn't so disappointed in the guys' reporting of it. I just don't like the fact that he doesn't wear shoulder pads and a helmet and gets knocked around a little bit before trying to throw the orbit. So that my suggestion was we just go there, we put a helmet and shoulder pads on him, rough him up for about 55 minutes, and then let's see if he can complete the orbit. People got pissed off about it, but hell, I mean, this has been 10 years now of me saying what I'm saying. You know, people would get over it. Like, you're not going to cancel my ass, right? That's just not how it's going to work.
Like that.
You seem a little mad about it still.
I was shamed into like writing an apology, and then I went to bed and I got up and talked to my wife about it. I'm taking that stuff down too, these idiots, and I'm just not gonna hey, I built myself a glass house, all right. I walk around with boulders, and that's just the way it's gonna be, you know. It just is. This is what the last 10 years have been. If you haven't figured that out about me yet, then that's a you problem.
Oh, those apologies are fun, aren't they?
Yeah. I thought I was being the bigger man. Instead, I just I just want to watch some film with the kid and say, you suck at what you're doing right now.
Truth hurts, man.
Did you hear from him at all? Did he reach out, Ben Zolak?
Are you kidding? No, hell no. That kid. Well, I mean, he's crazy, man. I was in prison. What the hell does he think? What's he gonna? He's like, I don't know what that guy's gonna do to me. Think about it.
Are you going to be the guy who shows up at the front door once you get the address?
Maybe.
You never know.
Maybe.
Go back to that one magical night.
I'm like 225 now. I'm not the imposing 325 when I walked out of prison, So it's like I'll bring a couple, 300-pounders and get to feel like what Chris Jones feels like a few times,
Yes. I like that.
We'll see, It's just the whole point. Everybody that got pissed off like I'm going to show up and beat a kid up like that, you're stupid, right? I'm not going back to prison, people. I hate that place. I like this place.
How's the food in it?
Horrible. Full of salt. I was 325 pounds when I walked out, man. Now, and also, I have a chef at home. I'm not going to give up having a chef at home by going back to prison.
Right.
People,
Being someone that did people know you in there? That's Ryan.
Yeah, it was Montana. That's where I'm from.
Yeah.
So I was there was people thought I'd be worrisome, but I mean, I was famous in a small town there, right? I mean, people wanted to just talk to me, and so I didn't do much. I mean, I went outside twice in those 32 months I was locked up.
Really? Wow.
I was so depressed. I was just trying to kill myself in there by not moving. There was a 13-inch flat screen at the end of the bed that had the NFL Red Zone in the fall. There's no deterrent. And so most of my time, I was just in San Quentin 2 weeks ago speaking to the men in there for the Last Mile Radio, which I do with SiriusXM. I mean, it's incredibly purposeful what my life has given me in these last 10 years. You guys have got to see it. I mean, last year I wasn't at Radio Row because we just had the baby girl. And so that was the first year we've missed since Super Bowl 50 in San Francisco with my wife and I. She's always here with me as a support and being a part of it. And you guys have seen it. I mean, this is 10 years of evidence. We're not trying to, sell you a bill of goods of what this dude is. This is what this dude, and this is what we're about.
Remember that one night, man? I was driving down Bridgewater, Massachusetts with Drew. We were we were riding in a car, and you called, and you could just hear the party going on in the background. And he's like, "That's Leaf Dog. What am I gonna do, man?"
Pullman, man.
Drew, what's up?
Drew taught me
that. I got you. Yeah, what's up, man?
Drew taught me all that.
When you were young. Oh boy.
Well, Ryan Leaf, we
appreciate you, man.
Happy you came back. Happy you're back on Radio Row, and we appreciate you being here.
Yeah, we hope your listeners liked it. They weren't too jacked up about it this morning. So
we have weird listeners, man. They went after Ross Tucker too.
Really?
Ross shuffled his schedule around, and then he started to piss us off a little bit. So he goes, "Hey, our listeners, go get on Ross." And
Ross, big
he
time.
sicked the dogs up. Well, he came.
He came.
The handler didn't think we were important enough for Ross. And
Ross, he's got a handler?
Yeah, he's got a handler.
He's doing CBS
and Ross was like, "What? I'm coming. I'll be over."
All right.
Yeah.
I don't. I'm my handler.
That's good.
I like that.
Be your own handler.
Yeah, I just couldn't find you guys a set. That's all. That's why I should probably have a handler.
Hey, if you like that clip, check out more videos from Zolak and Bertrand right here. For more Patriots analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. And for all the latest from the Sports Hub, download the app at 985thesportshub.com.